chapter 5, which I told you last week, I cover plant location, site layout, and just now was plant layout. Right. So the last one for today is on last chapter for part 1 is on safety and environmental impact. Okay, so when you read when I teach you will feel that there's a lot. But that's why I tell you macam it's really not easy to build a chemical plant because there are many factors that you may need to consider. There are many standards and codes that you need to really read and make sure that you follow them accordingly. So as you know, I'm not able to teach everything sebab kita ada 9 group kan, you know that even if yourself you ask your friends, everybody is using different material, producing different product, different ways, some using different, all of you using different process, different equipment. So my lecture is will definitely not be able to cater all kinds of these issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to explain the general ones or what are the things that you may need to take into consideration. But do remember, not necessarily all will be applicable to your chemical plant. So you can really tengok, baca note saya, understand what I'm teaching you, and then see whether it's related to your plant ke tidak. If it's not, it's fine. But if it's yes, then you have to study further. That's why at this stage, I think as well with groups under Madam Nurul Ammar, you should already establish your process, your raw material, and your side product and your main product. Sebab product akan jadi waste. Okay, you got main product, side product, right? Side product gonna be your waste. Raw material you need to know lah for the safety issues, and then the process as well. Okay, so we start with environmental first. Okay, so environmental, you must understand that it's not only about your conscience towards environment, but the government has a lot of these standards, legal standards and laws to protect the environment that you need to follow as you need, not you, but your chemical plant need to follow and adhere. Okay, so these are the things that you need to consider, which is the waste management, noise, so on and so forth. I will discuss some of it in detail, but not all. But again, because it's not possible to cover semua, saya akan cover apa yang penting that is relevant to most of the chemical plant. Okay, first of all, of course, on the waste management. So for those yang you are student 4, I think you're supposed to do on this environmental impact and sustainable environmental impact. You have to really know what kind of waste you are producing from your chemical plant. So kamu ketahui chemical tu bentuk apa? Okay, what are the chemicals? The phase of the chemicals, you need to know the liquid ke, gas ke, solid, and you need to know the composition. Adakah dia pure? Will your plant will be separating and all you get only pure one type of chemical, or is it going to be a mixture of chemicals? You really need to know this before you can do the report. Meaning in your report, I don't want a general report. It has to be very specific to the waste that you are producing. So I hope you don't just ambil je daripada internet, copy je waste management. Cannot. The discussion must be specific to the waste that you are producing from your own chemical plant. Okay, so apa tu waste? Byproduct, unused reactant. So although most of the plant will normally recycle back, but it's definitely not possible to get 100% recycled. You will actually release some of the unused reactant, and don't forget sometimes you might have off-spec product. Okay, kamu tahu that chemical plant ni dia ada quality control and it's not possible to always get 100% quality of the product that you required, you demanded, and sometimes you will have this off-spec product as well. Okay, so as well as waste from the plant, you might also have emissions from leaking seal and phalanges, as well as improper operational accidental spills and discharge will also occur. So you know, equipments will normally have these seals, but these seals or the connector will sometimes leak. So when you leak, okay, especially kalau gas phase, especially high pressure, you might have all these emission. Okay, so next one, Sometimes material discharge the atmosphere in an emergency through vents, normally protected by bursting disc and relief valve. Okay, so if you are using high pressure vessels, okay, normally reactor lah kan. If all these reactors, equipment vessels, high pressure vessels are equipped with bursting disc and relief valve, meaning katakan, let's say all of a sudden you have over contained pressure in your vessel, this will burst or the valve will be released to release the pressure. Sebab kalau pressure ni tak release, over pressure in the vessel, that's where explosion occurs. So when you work in a chemical plant, one of the important maintenance is to always check this bursting disc and relief valve working fine at the equipment. Sebab kalau ada over pressure, these two tak berfungsi, that's where explosion occurs. Okay, so but then when this occur, of course, then the material will be discharged. So imagine kalau kamu guna hazardous material, okay, and this disperse or release valve is open, you will release all this hazardous material to your chemical plant. And don't forget, you have operators in your chemical plant. So these are also ways that you need to consider. Okay, so the designer must consider all pollution sources and choose process that eliminate or reduce waste generation. So as much as possible, we want to minimize waste. Okay, so as I told you, I'm unable to address everyone's waste problem or issues, but actually there's this one good guide given by IKME. IKME is the Institutions of Chemical Engineer UK, and they have actually published a guide, a very comprehensive guide. They call it as waste minimization guide. So if you are interested to know more, they cover all types of chemical species. You can go to my notes. I have given you the link, or you can just Google. You can download this guide for you to actually understand what can you do in your plant to minimize the waste. Okay, so this is the simplifications of what are the ways we can do to reduce waste. Okay, so one, as I said, some of the chemical plant will choose to recycle your unused reactant. So that's one way to reduce waste, and also of course to reduce losses. Sebab kamu tahu reactant tu duit kan. So the more that I can recycle, the better it is, because that means that I reduce waste and more of my raw material can be converted into product. Or another way, during my discussion with the groups under me, one of the group has a good idea. They want to sell their side product. So they produce main product and they got a few side product, and they have identified that this side product has potential customers. So you may consider doing that instead of releasing instead of treating it as a waste. You may also consider the side product as product. So meaning not only selling the main product, you can also sell all of these side product to make money, and the best one to reduce the waste. So that is also one consideration that you can make. Right. Next one. That's why you see that most of the equipment, all of the equipment in the chemical plant, we have tight control system and alarms. So to make sure that the process always adhere to the operating condition that is necessary, that is required, so that you won't have overpressure lah, kamu takkan ada leaking problem lah. So they will have all this control system to ensure this won't be a problem. So later dalam design project tu, you will design the control system for the vessel. For example, macam reactor, kamu akan ada temperature control, kamu kalau ada pressure control, flow control, so on and so forth. So with the aim, kenapa nak buat control ni? To ensure one, that it operates at the desired operating condition, and second, of course, then you won't have off-spec product. So means product kamu akan sentiasa follow spec, so you reduce off-spec product. Okay, so then location of your sample point, drain and pumps should be placed in a way that the leaks flow into the plant effluent collection system rather than directly into sewers. So even the position of the equipment also will need to be considered as well. Spill should be retained in hold-up system, tank, and ponds for treatment. So let's say your spills are liquid phases, liquid phase. So you might have actually certain kind of treatment pond for them to be retained in the pond. And then certain connectors should be kept to a minimum so that you avoid all these leakage problem. Okay, next one. What if you have already produced waste? Okay, so tadi minimize. Kita nak kurang waste to reduce the amount of waste. Now that I have waste, okay, ada tak boleh elak saya ada waste ni, how do I manage it? How do I manage the waste that has been produced? So this can be either treatment and then dispose. So it's not either, is you have to, certain waste need to be treated and then only you can be disposed. So this treatment and waste disposal pun ada cara yang berbeza, which each of the group have to consider. So kamu tak boleh sebarangan pilih salah satu. Kamu, like I said, kamu kena betul-betul consider the waste from your plant and to see which strategies best suit for your waste. So this can be either dilution or dispersion, discharge to water sewer, incineration on land or landfill at control site. So you may choose to dispose it at landfill, but kamu pun tak boleh sebarangan. It really depends on your waste. So first of all is by treating it first, right? Even treating it, you have different ways of treatment. Either you're doing physical, chemical or biological treatment. So kamu dah pernah belajar dalam other courses, I'm very sure, how to treat all these chemicals. So one way is physical treatment through scrubbing, settling, absorption, adsorption. Next one, chemical treatment, precipitation. If you have heavy metal, you may precipitate your heavy metal. Let's say you have a liquid, right? Your liquid has heavy metal. You may choose to precipitate the heavy metal from the liquid. Then kamu separate, means kamu akan separate lah, precipitation tu kamu akan separate the heavy metals, so you will remove the liquid. So the liquid is easier to be treated as they no longer have any heavy metals. Or if let's say your liquids are acidic or basic, you may choose to neutralize first. Sebab nak dispose acidic and basic, of course it's not as easy as releasing a neutral pH of liquid. So kamu mungkin choose to neutralize first your liquid. So mungkin kamu boleh check liquid kamu tu acidic ke basic. Adakah, is there any way for me to actually neutralize it first? Next one, biological treatment. So this may be activated sludge and a lot of other processes as well. So next one, if let's say now you have known the phase of your waste. Okay, kamu dah tahu fasa dia liquid ke, gas ke, solid. Okay, these are among the things that you may choose to do. Okay, let's say you are producing gaseous waste. Okay, so kamu kena tengok juga gaseous waste kamu ni hazardous ke tak. Okay, so kalau, not hazardous, toxic. Okay, katakan your gaseous effluents containing toxic or noxious substances, they must be treated before discharge to the atmosphere. So kalau kamu memastikan gas yang toxic, kamu tak boleh just release to the atmosphere. Okay, that one I'm sure you know as well. So you can remove the gaseous pollutant by absorption or adsorption. So katakan campuran gas kamu tu ada pollutants yang toxic, kamu mungkin choose to absorb atau adsorb dulu untuk remove pollutants ni. Okay, next one. If your gaseous phase consists of finely dispersed solid, mungkin dia ada solid dalam gas phase kamu. So what you can do, you can scrub first or using precipitators to remove the solid first from your gaseous waste, or if you have flammable gases. So if you have flammable gases, it can be burned as well. Okay. Next one, kalau liquid phase. Okay, let's say you're producing liquid phase, but if this liquid phase, dia ada juga ada condition dia. If your liquid phase doesn't contain water, okay, so dia kata sini chemical waste liquid except aqueous, meaning kalau waste kamu tu liquid dan tak ada air langsung, they are flammable, they can actually be burned in incinerators. Kenapa tak boleh ada air? Air kalau bakar tak boleh lah kan. You know that it will reduce the efficiency of the combustion. Incinerator is combustion. Kamu tahu combustion memang kalau ada air tak boleh combust. So if let's say your liquid yang kamu hasilkan memang tak ada water and these are flammable, you can actually burn them in incinerators. Okay, so incinerator ni kenapa bagus? The temperature are very high enough to destroy any harmful compounds that may be formed, such as dioxin when you are burning chlorinated compounds. Let's say you have chlorine, chlorinated compounds. Incinerators are the temperatures are high enough so that you don't produce any harmful compounds. So the gas emitted by incinerator can be scrubbed and acid gases can be neutralized. Okay. Next one, aqueous waste. So tadi saya kata kalau waste kamu tu liquid dan tak ada air. So let's say now you have water. Okay, let's say your liquid tu campuran air. How do you gonna treat it? Okay, so the following are the principal factors that determine the nature of your aqueous industrial effluent and will be subject to strict controls. Okay, katakan kamu menghasilkan effluent yang ada air, aqueous effluent, and you want to release it to the system, you release it outside of your system. Kami tahu kan quality air tu ada dia punya rules and regulation as well. So you can check, you must check at your specific location what are the rules and regulation towards this water quality before you can release it to the environment. So usually the 4 parameters that they will see is suspended solid, pH, toxicity, BOD, sometimes COD as well. Okay, so suspended solid means liquid yang effluent, aqueous effluent yang kamu nak release to the environment cannot have any suspended solid. So you have to be removed by settling using clarifier. So I think you have read from the news kan, banyak kali kilang-kilang ni ditangkap, dia lepas air sebarangan ke dalam sungai, ke dalam longkang, and these are done illegally. Kenapa dia done illegally? Sebab dia punya water quality tu cannot fulfill the rules and regulation requirement by the government. So no way, that's why diorang terdesak, diorang tak nak treat, because you know treatment will also incur costs. So they behave irresponsibly and just release it to the river. But the impact is big. That's why whatever waste that you want to release, you have to make sure fulfill all this requirement. Treat dulu, dah fulfill quality, baru boleh release. So tadi one is suspended solid. Second, pH. Let's say your water is acidic or basic. Of course, you will have to neutralize. So neutralization dia depends lah. Okay, either you want to add acid or you add alkali. Okay, so kalau dia acidic, tambah alkali. Kalau dia alkaline, tambah acid. Okay, one of the way is using lime. Okay, next, toxicity. Okay, so toxicity, one of the way is to dilute your effluent so that the toxicity will be able to reduce to acceptable levels. So you may choose to dilute your waste, dilute your aqueous waste so that the toxicity tu dah berkurangan lah. Or you have to treat first before you to reduce the toxicity. Means kamu kena tahulah apa tu bahan toksik dalam liquid kamu tu. Treat it first and then release. Next one is BOD, your biological oxygen demand. So one of the way is activated sludge process to reduce the BOD of the equipment effluent before discharge. So that's why certain plant will have a water treatment, will have a treatment plant. So this treatment plant will use activated sludge process. So what they do, they treat first the water, reduce BOD. So someone will come and check BOD dia dah okay, dah certain level, dah fulfill, baru dia release to the environment. So dia akan ada satu macam tank lah. But the tank is able to only sustain maybe perhaps a few days of your liquid base. Okay, make sure you done all the process, activated sludge process ke. There are many different type of process. Dia dah sampai BOD yang kita nak, then baru dia release. So dia masuk balik the new batch of the liquid waste. Then next, solid waste. Okay, your solid waste are usually burned in incinerators. Okay, if it's possible to burn it or buried in landfill. So you can bury at landfill, tapi pun tak boleh sebarangan. You cannot just tengok apa-apa landfill and you choose to throw it, you choose to bury it there. No. Landfill also ada dia punya regulation, rules and regulation of what kind of solid can be sent over there to be buried. Okay, so and that also incur cost. Landfills are not free juga. Kamu ada incur cost as well. And there only specific landfill for certain types of waste. Okay, so next one is a very basic one, noise. So let's say you must remember noise is also an issue. Okay, so you have to find ways what can you do to reduce the noise. Okay, why? Because noise can be a major nuisance in the surrounding area. You can cause problem if the plant is very noisy. So care must be taken when you are selecting equipment such as compressor and air cooler fans. Excessive noise can be produced when venting through steam and relief. Wow. So vendor specification should be checked to ensure your equipment comply with statutory noise level, employee protection, noise pollution consideration. So perhaps for your case, noise is something a bit hard for you to consider, right? Because at this stage, you haven't really, how do I say, you haven't really determined, you know the equipment, tapi the specification of the equipment tak sangat. So you may discuss noise, you may discuss more in general sebab you need to know more, patutnya noise ni bila dah ada equipment design sahaja, you can actually discuss better. So at this stage, for noise, when you discuss, you may discuss a bit general. Yang waste management pun tak boleh, waste management must be specific. Noise wise, you may discuss in general sebab most of it depending on equipment actually, which you haven't done yet the design. Okay, next one, visual impact. So this is how to make environmental impact also included visual impact, how your plant looks to the others or to the public. So the plant appearance should be considered during the design process. So siapa yang buat site layout tu, kamu kena consider juga how your plant will look from the outside of the outside of your plant. So let's say kalau someone lalu your plant from outside, how will it look like to them? Okay, so if you have large pieces of equipment such as storage tank can be painted to blend in or even contrast with the surrounding, or you can also do landscaping and tree screening to improve the overall appearance of the site. So visual impact dengan noise ni is more general discussion. Okay, tapi yang waste tu you have to be very specific to the waste that you are producing. Okay, so done on environmental impact. Now on safety. So safety ni pun dalam note saya pun banyak, tapi I understand that you also learn safety as you already learned a special course on safety. So I will just give you a very general ones, but again, safety consideration you must consider specifically to your own chemical plant. Okay, so when we're talking about safety in process design, bila kita nak design pun kita dah kena consider safety. So this safety pula is divided into 4 aspects, meaning 1, identify, assess the hazards. So kamu dah kena identify dan assess apa jenis hazards yang ada dalam chemical plant kamu. Next, how you going to control this hazard? Next, how you going to control the process? And lastly, limitation of the loss. If let's say berlaku any catastrophe or any issues that regarded to safety, how do you want to limit the loss? Okay, so control the hazard is how you're going to contain the flammable and toxic material if your plant is using toxic and flammable materials. So how you're going to control these? Control the process is how you're going to what are the safety aspects that you can introduce in your process. Okay, so this may include, for example, using system, using automatic control, alarm, of course, alarm and trips lah. That's among the thing that you can do. Means katakan all sudden your reactor has temperature run away, temperature naik ke, or pressure naik ke. So you have all this control system to ensure that this will not poses a bigger problem. Okay, next one, we are talking about process. And we're talking about general process hazard. So hazard ni jadi banyak. I think you have also learn in safety, right? Process ni, hazard ni banyak. Not only equipment, the process, the chemicals. Okay, so now let's talk about process dalam general. Okay, general, what are the hazards in process? As I told you, walau saya akan bincang secara general, kamu kena tengok mana satu will affect your own chemical plant. So example dia, reactions. Are you talking about using exothermic chemical reaction? Exothermic means release heat. Okay, so if let's say your reaction are exothermic reactions, this is one of your process hazards you have to consider already. Next one, endothermic processes. If let's say you are using a lot of heat exchangers or you are talking about equipment that needs high temperature, so that also is a safety hazard for you in the process. Third, material handling and transfer. If let's say especially you're using gases at high pressure, so you know that handling and transfer for this kind of chemicals also poses extra risk in comparison. Kalau kamu guna just a normal chemical, in comparison this will poses higher risk. Indoor enclosed or indoor process unit. Kalau process unit kamu dalam bangunan yang tertutup, so you have to consider as well the additional risk. Next one, access of emergency equipment. Okay. Next one, drainage and spill control. Okay. So these among the, tadi saya cakap pasal process hazards tu dalam general, right? So these are the special ones that may be related to you. Okay, toxic material. If you're using sub-atmospheric pressure, if you're using operation in near flammable range, dust explosion, relief pressure, low temperature. So saya takkan explain in detail. I will just give you the general ones. I will just tell you what are the consideration. The notes are already uploaded on VLE. You read this. This is just a reference. Kamu tak boleh buat report berdasarkan notes saya. It's just a reference so that kamu tahu apa hazard yang berkaitan dengan plant kamu. And then please go and find out more from the internet, or if you're not too sure, you can always ask me. But these are just the guidelines for you to do your report. Okay. Next, ada lagi, banyak lagi. The next process hazards, let's say you're using flammable material, corrosion, erosion. If you're using acidic or basic chemicals, corrosion, erosion may occur. Leakage, joint and packing. Fired heater, if you're using fired heater, of course fired heater poses additional hazards. Heat exchange system, if you're using hot oil in your heat exchanger, also a problem. Rotating equipment, katakan equipment kamu tu ada stirrer, rotating, right? Stirrer or mixer, compressor, centrifuge, dia rotate kan, dia ada rotating components, right? So these also can poses hazards and additional risk. Okay. Then next, dah tahu hazards, then sekarang kena solve pula. What are your measures to prevent and protect? Okay, so dah tadi stage pertama dah tahu apa dia punya hazard. So kamu kena tengok apa hazard yang berkaitan dengan plant kamu. Next stage, kamu kena discuss pula what are the preventive and protective measures yang kamu boleh ambil. So again sama juga. Protective preventive measures ni dia mesti berkait dengan apa hazards yang kamu identify tadi. Okay, so these are among those that you have to consider. Of course, adequate secure water supply for firefighting, correct structural design of your piping vessels, pressure relief devices. So make sure that all your equipments with high pressure, means kalau tekan dalam chemical plant kamu identify yang kamu ada equipment yang menggunakan high pressure, all this equipment must have pressure relief device, meaning kalau dia over pressure at a certain limit, dia akan burst atau release valve tu akan terbuka untuk let the gas to go out or the liquid as well. Corrosion resistant material and adequate corrosion allowance. If you are using chemicals that has tendency to corrode, then you have to consider in the material of your construction. Okay, segregation of reactive material, electrical equipment have to be considered. Backup utility supply service, comply with national codes and standard, fail-safe instrumentation. So kamu pun kena ingat apa preventive protective measures that kamu ambil, you are bounded by codes and standards, rules and regulation. Okay, these are among others. This one is for the preventive and protective measure as well. So this one towards example, katakan equipment kamu tu hazardous. So you might have adequate separation between this equipment. And then control room. Remember I taught you last week kena ada control room, right? So control room ni kena ada safe design dengan location. Sebab control room is the key room where it control the operation of the equipment. So this control room must be safely located so that the operators or anyone can enter the control room, okay, to shut down the equipment, so on and so forth. Okay, so next one, of course, protection of fired equipment, heater, furnace yang temperature tinggi, you have to make sure they are safely protected. Sebab tu saya kata, one of it is the blast wall, kan, macam kita baca tadi. Okay, then types of material construction. No glass equipment for flammable hazardous material. So kamu tahu kalau kamu menggunakan chemical yang flammable, hazardous, janganlah guna glassware. Okay, janganlah guna glass equipment. So this is more towards the design of equipment. Alright. Next one, checklist. So this is among the checklists that you can use as well for your reference. And this checklist divided into different categories. So these are the checklists for the chemicals. So chemical yang kamu ada ni, kamu kena check. This is a checklist that you have to check. Okay, I just go general. Reactors. So you see there's a special design checklist specifically on reactors. So this include especially kalau tindak balas kamu tu exothermic. Sebab exothermic ni dia menghasilkan haba. So you understand the safety aspect have to really be considered. Sebab kamu tahu kan reaction ni, masalah dia, reaction ni you know right, is influenced by many parameters. Katakan satu parameter tu run away, katakan suhu ke, molar flow rate ke, satu benda run, temperature dia, reaction dia tak terkawal, the temperature can spike, the heat can goes up, the temperature can spike. So this will cause a lot of safety issues. So reactor always one of the main problems lah in chemical plant. Next one, temperature control. So again, sebab exothermic, even endothermic pun, temperature control tu very important. So you have good control system. Do you have side reaction? So sometimes dalam reactor you learn you might have multiple reaction, right? So multiple reaction can be dangerous as well. Contamination, unusual concentration, corrosion. So kalau tindak balas kamu menghasilkan chemical or uses chemical that corrodes can also be a problem. Next one, pressure system. Tadi reactor, sekarang pressure system. Okay, so that's why usually they avoid using high pressure process. So high pressure process ni memang risk dia is much higher when you choose to use high pressure process. But then sometimes you tak boleh elak kan, certain reaction memerlukan high pressure. So you cannot avoid in certain circumstances. But usually chemical plant will try to reduce the usage of high pressure. Sebab high pressure, dia punya equipment design, dia punya control system, all these will have more consideration and of course more money juga. Okay, so it includes material construction. Yang paling penting material construction. So kalau kamu ada high pressure vessel, material construction tu sangat penting. So kamu kena betul-betul check standard and code, and then kamu kena check range dia. So kamu kena fikir juga, let's say range dia kata this material is about about 400 Celsius. So kamu tak bolehlah design reactor kamu, design vessel kamu tu at 400. You must remember sometimes it can go over temperature, right? Let's say runaway temperature, it goes more than 400, meletuplah reaktor kamu. So special provision tu kena ada. So let's say your equipment is functioning at 350, kamu pilih material yang mungkin dia boleh withstand temperature to about 450 or 500 to allow allowance if let's say any runaway temperature occurs in your reactor. Then pressure release system, as I told you, I explained, and venting system as well. Okay, then next, control system. So control system pun kamu jangan hanya ada one control system. Normally they have backup control system. As I told you the story last week about the nuclear reactors, dia dah ada backup system. Dia ada lagi satu backup system, both backup system fail. That's why the catastrophe occurs. So kamu kena consider satu sistem kena ada backup, kena make sure all these are protected. If your main system are down, you have a backup system to ensure that this doesn't occur worse. Okay, next one, storage. Even storage too, you have to consider how you're going to storage your chemicals, raw material and your product as well. Okay, so again, dia tak di general. Specifically, checklist dia kamu kena check kepada chemical kamu. So these are the general ones. Okay, so these are the general ones that may include, may occur in your plant. So of course lah, safety shower, eye bath tu kena ada lah kan. You know, chemicals. So you see even our laboratory, we have all these safety showers and eye bath. And you must know that all these eye bath and safety showers are properly maintained. Dia bukan sebarangan bina biar je. You have to maintain because sometimes you never know when accidents occurs and they are closely monitored as well by the government. Okay, so next one, you have to have adequate sewers, drains, you have to have dust explosion hazards, and that's why the plant layout as well, you have to consider all these process hazards, right? The next, fire protection, to ensure your chemical plant has all these fire protection equipment as well, aspects and equipment. Right, next one, done. So last one was on the fire protection. Okay, so that's all for chapter 6 of design project 1. As I told you, this week is going to be last lecture for design part 1. Okay, we will continue back once you have finished on the part 1. So tentatively, the presentation should be about week 6 to week 7. I haven't confirmed because I need to inform the examiners, but it's tentatively week 6. Might go to week 7, but please put on your mind presentation week 6, report week 7. So means kamu kena prepare slide dulu. Sebab kenapa? During presentation, you might get input from your assessors and you can use it to improve your report. So the report is submitted the following week. Okay. Before I finish, for those group under me for consultation, your consultation is on Wednesday, right? 2:30 to 4:30. However, I will change your consultation to the morning, 11:30 to 1:30 for this week saja. Minggu ni saya tukar consultation group bawah saya daripada 2:30 ke 4:30 ke 11:30, 1:30. Sequence dia masih sama, 1, 2, 3, 4. Kenapa? Sebab this Wednesday, I would like you guys to attend this talk. Saya tak compulsory, it's up to you. Pergi tak pergi pun saya tak paksa. But there's going to be a talk by Unicare and Mindset, and one of the speaker is actually medical director of AstraZeneca in UK, and this medical director is actually a Malaysian and a brother of one of our Unicare and Mindset staff. Okay, so dia akan bercakap mengenai pharmaceutical industry. I know you guys are processed. I know that not so relevant, but you never know. Okay, you know that as a chemical engineering technologies, not necessarily kamu kena kerja chemical plant. Pharmaceutical industry is also one of the path that you may want to venture into as well. So if you have the time, I think it's about 3 o'clock. I will send you the link. Since saya dah kosongkan masa ni untuk grup saya rasa grup Madam Nur Amal pun pagi kot, petang mungkin ada 1-2 grup kan. Kalau tak boleh kosongkan tak apalah, but for my groups, I hope you can attend the talk to open your eyes. So, I tak nak kamu just pergi kelas online sepanjang hari, kamu tak belajar pasal dunia luar. So, I want you to actually just attend the talk and open up your mind to other possibility. You never know that one day you might end up in UK, like macam dia kat UK, dia jadi medical director of AstraZeneca. You never know one day you might end up like this. So, just attend the talk. Nothing wrong. He's a Malaysian. You should be proud. One of the Malaysian is AstraZeneca medical director in UK. So just attend the talk, and I hope that I give you the time to actually take the chance to listen to the talk. Okay, so group bawah saya, design project kamu punya consultation, I move to 11:30 to 1:30. Right? So no lecture for the next 3 weeks until I inform you the subsequent lecture. Okay? Thank you everyone. That's all for today.